When I hit 43, I wasn't expecting the universe to shift or slow down for me. Birthdays had become soft echoes, no longer milestones, just gentle reminders of time moving forward. It had been half a year since my divorce, and in that space, I found a new kind of quiet. Not the painful kind that gnaws at your chest, but the kind that makes you pause, reassess, breathe. I manage trips at a boutique travel consultancy in Savannah, Georgia. Each call is a window into someone else's escape. Newlyweds planning a once-in-a-lifetime trip, couples searching for peace, solo travelers chasing a sense of self. I helped them all chase freedom while mine gathered dust. So when my team gifted me a surprise, 2 plane tickets to a secluded coastal hideaway where time seemed to stand still, I was stunned. "You deserve something good," my supervisor told me, slipping the envelope into my hand with a smile. But I didn't know who to invite. My best friend, Marissa, had dropped hints with smirks and side eyes, offering her company in jest. But I didn't want comfortable laughter over wine or recycled stories about exes. I longed for something quieter, something honest. And that's when I thought of Julian, my adopted son. He was 21 now, thoughtful and observant, with those introspective hazel eyes that always seemed to be searching for more beneath the surface of things. Our connection had always been quietly profound. As a child, he'd grasp my hand like it tethered him to the earth. Now, he reached for me in subtler ways. Gentle concern, thought-filled glances, gestures that spoke more than words ever could. That evening, I knocked softly on his bedroom door. He was back home from college for the summer, music softly playing, sketchbook open in his lap. He looked up, brow arched with curiosity. "Want to disappear with me for a few days?" I asked. He blinked, puzzled. "Where to?" "Somewhere warm. Off the map. No screens, no schedules." Julian held my gaze for a beat, then smiled with a slow, easy warmth. "Yeah," he said. "Let's go." The retreat was a sliver of untouched coastline, hidden far from the world. Our cabin stood on stilts over jade-green waters. At night, the waves whispered secrets as they rolled beneath us. The first morning, sunlight filtered through woven blinds, casting gold across the room. I opened my eyes to find Julian already outside on the deck, barefoot, coffee in hand. He stared out at the endless ocean like he was reading something only he could see. His shoulders had broadened since the last time we vacationed together. The softness of youth fading into the quiet form of a man. "Morning," I said, stepping beside him. He looked over, smile tugging at the corner of his mouth. "You slept hard." "Too hard," I said, stretching. I think I forgot how to truly relax. The day passed in slow wonder. Barefoot strolls beneath leafy canopies, tangled hammock naps, and plenty of laughter. Especially when I toppled off a paddleboard into waist-deep water, sputtering and indignant. Julian's laughter wasn't mocking, it held affection. The kind of laughter that feels like home. That evening, we sat on the empty beach, the horizon melting into soft hues of lavender and peach. Our plates, grilled fish, sticky mango rice, sat abandoned beside us. I traced shapes in the sand as the tide whispered nearby. "Do you remember the first day we met?" I asked. He nodded, eyes far off. "You were wearing a red scarf. It made you look like someone out of a storybook." I laughed softly, the memory washing over me. "You wouldn't let go of my hand." "You didn't let go of mine either," he replied. A silence followed, one that didn't demand to be filled. It just existed, stretching gently between us. Then he whispered, "You've always been my anchor. But lately, I think I've started seeing you in a different light." I turned to him, heart pausing in my chest, not from shock, but from the quiet weight of his truth. "What do you mean?" I asked, my voice barely more than breath. He didn't respond right away. Instead, he rose and held out his hand. "Come walk with me. There's something I want to say." We walked slowly along the darkening shoreline. The air carried a strange warmth, not from the sun, but from the sea itself, like it was exhaling something unspoken. The water kissed our ankles, retreating like a shy lover every time we leaned into it. Julian walked in silence, but I could feel something stirring between us. Not tension, more like something waiting. He finally spoke. "There was someone I met last semester." I looked over, quietly attentive. "She reminded me of you. Confident. Kind. Always making sure everyone else was okay before herself." I swallowed, but said nothing. She was amazing, but every time she touched me, it felt like a copy of something else. He paused, searching for the right words. I realized I was chasing something that already existed in my life, but not in the way I thought. Like I was chasing a feeling I'd only had once before, but didn't understand at the time. I stopped walking. Dorian turned to face me, and under the moonlight, his expression was different, raw, searching. "When was that?" I asked, my voice nearly a whisper. "The summer I was 17, he said. "We went to the mountains for that agency retreat. Do you remember? You slipped on the trail and grabbed my hand. I was just a kid then, but I felt something. Something real. It scared me. I remembered everything. The softness of the air, the way his grip tightened around mine, the fleeting thought I'd buried deep before I could name it. I had chalked it up to maternal protectiveness, dismissed it before it could bloom into anything more dangerous. But now, with the ocean around us, the island sheltering us in its solitude, and the years stretching behind us like a silent trail, I couldn't dismiss it anymore. "I think I've always been afraid," I said, barely able to meet his gaze. "Not of loving you, but of being loved back in a way that would be too much." Dorian stepped closer. So close I could feel the heat of his skin, even though we weren't touching. "It's never been too much," he murmured. "Not for me." I felt my breath catch. Everything around us, waves, air, sky, seemed to still. There was no past here. No titles, no scripts. Only this moment. "Do you think we're terrible people?" I asked, searching his face for shame. He shook his head slowly. "I think we're human, and I think sometimes the heart writes a different story than the world allows." The silence that followed wasn't awkward. It was sacred. We didn't cross any lines that night. We didn't need to. But when we returned to the bungalow, I caught him watching me with a look that undid me. It wasn't lust. It was reverence. Like he was afraid if he blinked I might disappear. And that night, as I lay in bed listening to the waves and the soft creak of wood under his steps in the room next to mine, I realized the most terrifying truth of all. I didn't want to disappear. Sleep evaded me. The bungalow was quiet, but my mind wasn't. I lay beneath the white sheets, tangled in thoughts that wouldn't settle. The room felt too still, too honest. The ceiling fan above spun lazy circles, pushing warm air around, but offering no comfort. Finally, I gave in. Slipping on a robe over my chamisole and shorts, I stepped outside. The night air was thick with salt and mystery, and I welcomed its touch like an old lover. The moon hovered low, casting a silver path across the water, and the stars stretched like confessions flung across the dark. I walked to the shore, letting the sand swallow my footsteps. The sea whispered secrets as I passed, and when I found a quiet spot beyond the dunes, I lay down in the cool sand, arms folded under my head, eyes fixed on the infinite. It was here that my thoughts stopped pretending to be innocent. I let myself remember the way Dorian looked at me earlier, the weight of his gaze, the way he said it's never been too much. I didn't know what scared me more, that he meant it or that part of me desperately wanted to believe it. I didn't hear him at first, only the soft sound of footsteps displacing sand. Then a shadow moved beside me. Dorian. He didn't say anything. He simply lay down next to me, close but not touching. His presence folded into mine so naturally that I forgot we were supposed to be separate. I didn't turn my head, but I felt his gaze. "This guy," he whispered, "doesn't judge." My heart squeezed. I turned to him slowly. He was on his side now, propped up on one elbow, looking down at me. The moon lit one side of his face, casting shadows across the other. There was something so boyish in his wonder, and something undeniably manlike in the way he looked at me. My breath caught when he leaned in, hesitant but sure. The way someone approaches the edge of a high cliff, wanting to know what it feels like to fall. Our lips hovered, so close that I could feel the heat of his breath mingling with mine. And for a second, everything inside me screamed, yes. But I didn't move. Neither did he. That moment, heavy, trembling, sacred, was almost enough to destroy me. I pulled back just a breath. Not enough to sever the moment. Just enough to hold it still. I can't, I murmured. His eyes darkened with something more complicated than disappointment. Because you don't want to? Or because you're afraid you do? I turned away, my eyes filling with something hotter than tears. I raised you, I said softly. You are mine. You are mine. But I'm not your blood, he said, his voice firm but gentle. You chose me, remember? The words settled over me like a slow burn. That was the cruel twist, wasn't it? He was right. He wasn't of me. Not in the biological sense. I had chosen him. I had loved him fiercely, protectively. But what I felt now didn't belong to that world of soft lullabies and scraped knees. Something about the moment felt ancient, human, tangled, and hard to name. My hands trembled as I pressed them to my face, trying to breathe through the rush of emotion. He sat up slowly, brushing sand from his arm, his voice low. You don't have to hold it all in anymore, he said. All that guilt, all that fear. You've carried it long enough. The wind whispered through the palms, soft as a prayer. I didn't answer, not right away. But I didn't ask him to leave either. We stayed there, side by side, listening to the ocean calm itself against the shore. After a while, Julian scooped a handful of sand into his palm. He let it slip through his fingers in a thin golden stream. See, he murmured. Even what we can't hold onto still touches us before it's gone. The grains caught the moonlight as they fell across my feet, warm and weightless. For the first time in a long while, the silence between us didn't ache. It healed. My breath hitched. He did it again, another thin stream, this time falling gently onto my ankles, then higher. The grains moved up my shins, then to my knees. Each time with the same rhythm, soft, deliberate, wordless. I didn't move. I couldn't. Something inside me, something primal and trembling, was waking up. A volcano, dormant for decades, began to stir. The pressure of everything I'd buried, desire, fear, longing, guilt, started to rise from the pit of me. I felt it in my chest first, a tightening, a heat. Then it moved to my throat, and suddenly breathing didn't feel automatic anymore. Dorian was still silent, his hand now hovering just above the hem of my robe. The sand catching the moonlight before landing gently, reverently on the bare skin of my thigh. My breathing quickened. He looked at me then, not just a glance. He looked into me, as if asking a question with his eyes that neither of us knew how to voice. Do you want me to stop? He whispered. I didn't know what to say. Every part of me was split. Mind and body, duty and desire, memory and moment. I don't know, I said honestly. I don't know what I'm doing. He nodded as if he understood that uncertainty better than anyone. Then he laid back down beside me. Closer this time. Close enough that I could feel his body heat, but still not touching. Not yet. I just wanted you to feel, he said. And I did. I felt everything. Years of quiet ache, buried grief, moments I'd tried to forget. The weight of old wounds. But deeper still, something else began to rise. Not shame, but hope. Hope that I wasn't broken for needing closeness. Hope that reaching for connection, even from someone who had grown beside me, though not of me, wasn't a flaw. Just human. This strange island, all sea and sky, had become something sacred. A space where the roles we wore back home didn't weigh us down. Where it was finally safe to just be. I turned my face toward him. I don't know where this leads, I whispered. His hand was still dusty with sand. He reached out slowly, cautiously, and brushed a few stray grains from my collarbone. Neither do I, he said. But I'm not afraid of finding out. I stared up at the stars. They blinked quietly above, vast and endless. And for the first time in a very long time, I didn't feel like I was floating alone in the dark. I don't know how long we stayed there, suspended between unspoken truths and the hush of the sea, between breath and the weightless pull of understanding. The sky didn't change. The stars stayed where they were. But something inside me shifted, gently, deeply. Not everything needed to be named. Some moments are meant only to be felt. And, in that stillness, I let myself stay. I wanted to hold on to the quiet as long as I could to protect the line we hadn't yet crossed. But my body didn't listen. My heart had begun to thud in a new rhythm, one I didn't recognize, but couldn't ignore. Dorian shifted closer, just an inch, then another. I felt the warmth of his breath against my cheek, like a sigh he hadn't meant to let go. My chest rose and fell faster. Too fast. I clutched the edge of my robe, suddenly aware of everything. The softness of my skin beneath, the vulnerability of the moment, the closeness of him. No, I murmured more to myself than to him. This isn't right. I turned on my side, my back to him, pulling my arms across my chest as if I could block out the temptation by sheer force of will. But he didn't retreat. He lay behind me, not pressing, not touching, just there, the way he had always been, steady, waiting, letting me choose. I closed my eyes tight, hoping the heat in my veins would cool, that my thoughts would scatter and leave me numb again. But they didn't. Instead, they whispered, "He's not your blood. You raised him." Yes, but he chose you, too. I clenched my hands tighter, fingers curling into my palms until they trembled. My whole body trembled. And then I turned slowly, too slowly. He was already watching me, his face so close, the moonlight catching in the flecks of his eyes. My hands instinctively lifted to shield myself, to resist, to hold back the flood. I touched my own lips as if afraid they might betray me. But then, like a tide finally giving into gravity, I let my fingers drop. He didn't move first. I did. Just the smallest shift forward. Our lips brushed light as breath. Uncertain like the first stroke on a blank canvas. 1,000 memories poured into that single moment. Bandaged knees, sleepy hugs, birthday candles, graduation mornings. And still, this was different. This kiss didn't belong to the past. It was here now. His hand came up, not to pull me closer, but to cradle the side of my face with a tenderness so deep it undid me. I melted into it, not because I wanted to, but because I couldn't fight the truth anymore. The kiss happened. It was soft, almost reverent. It didn't crash into us like a storm. It unfolded like a secret that had waited patiently to be spoken. When we finally pulled apart, I gasped, not from shock, but from the absence of him. My fingers touched my lips. They were still warm. Dorian's voice was low, steady. "You don't have to say anything, but I did. I had to say something." "I don't know what this makes me," I whispered. He reached for my hand, holding it between us like a fragile thing. "It makes you human." For so many years, I had been the caretaker, the one who held things together. The mother, the wife, the reliable one, always choosing duty over want, stability over self. But tonight I had simply been a person. A woman. Quiet. Awake. Real. Tomorrow would come with questions. Maybe even consequences. But in this moment, I wasn't ready to feel regret. Not yet. I just wanted to feel what it was to be, unshielded and whole, under a sky that asked nothing in return.